They were like creatures I'd never seen before. Congrats on marrying my brother. Your dress is so cute, but don't you think mine looks better? Oh, come on. Saying that will just make the bride feel bad. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. In the bridal dressing room, I stood speechless as my sister-in-law and mother-in-law made these comments with a sassy attitude. Their condescending tone was shocking, but my sister-in-law's outrageous outfit left me even more stunned. Her dress was so white it could rival any bride's, with her plump thighs visible through the slit, and fur wrapped around the off-shoulder design. My mother-in-law gazed at her daughter with adoration, while my husband looked at his family with cold eyes. I never imagined I would face such blatant harassment on my wedding day. It was too much to process. Looking back, it's no surprise that my sister-in-law's matchmaking attempts ended in disaster, given how she behaved even at someone else's wedding. My name is Anya. I was born in a coastal town and grew up in a typical household. When I went to a state university, I stayed with my maternal grandma, who lived nearby. Living with my beloved grandma, who had always doted on me, was my dream. Her well-maintained old house was a mix of Western and ethnic styles with a nostalgic atmosphere. I loved spending time on the balcony overlooking the small garden, chatting with Grandma while munching on seasonal fruit. Even after getting a job, I continued living there. When Grandma fell ill, I took care of the house, hoping she'd return, but that wish never came true. When it became hard for Grandma to live on her own, she moved to a facility in my hometown. I want to take care of Grandma, I said, but she smiled and replied, "You've done enough. I want you, Anya, to find happiness." After Grandma passed away, I married Jesse, who had always supported me. Now, we live in the house filled with Grandma's memories, but our supposedly peaceful newlywed life is constantly disrupted by those two women. How did someone with such a plain face and skinny body like you manage to marry my brother? My mother-in-law asked one day, when I was preparing lunch for my sister-in-law due to a neighborhood association meeting. Instead of gratitude, my sister-in-law greeted me with sarcasm. I just wanted to go home, but if I did, they'd just show up at my place. Ask your brother, my sister-in-law said, seemingly satisfied with her own conclusion. Well, maybe you two are a good match since he's not that great either. She then gulped down the curry I made. I bet she thinks eating in tiny bites in front of men is the secret to being attractive. My sister-in-law might seem devilish, but what's truly terrifying is her lack of malice. She looks down on everyone, including me and her brother, without a second thought. It's exhausting. My mother-in-law, who raised such a sister-in-law, is, of course, a handful. Rather than disliking me, she seems more interested in elevating her daughter by putting me down and bossing me around. That's why she calls me for such tasks. If I neglect her daughter, she'd either call nonstop or ring my doorbell incessantly. It's a living nightmare. Apparently, my mother-in-law always said her daughter was her world and never really cared about her son. My husband claims he was never abused, but he also says he was never shown any interest. His father went on a work assignment 10 years ago and never returned. Even after retirement, he still sends money for living expenses, so it seems neither mother-in-law nor sister-in-law care. My husband tries to address their attitude, but they don't listen. After all, in their eyes, he's just another person to look down upon. Seeing my husband deteriorate more than me was heartbreaking, and I often gave in to my mother-in-law's demands, which was my mistake. The two of them became increasingly unbearable, and we, as a couple, grew weary. We couldn't go on like this. Determined, my husband and I decided to hatch a plan. Just as our preparations were almost complete, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law unexpectedly showed up at our house. It was a hot summer day. My husband was at work. Reluctantly, I greeted them. "Hello, sister-in-law, what brings you here?" Just because we're the cute sister-in-law and mother-in-law doesn't mean we need a reason to visit. You should fix that stingy attitude. It's hot outside, let us in. You're so inconsiderate. I really didn't want to let them into Grandma's precious house, but to avoid causing a scene, I reluctantly let them in. I served them coffee and some cookies I had baked the day before. "What, no cake?" "I'm sorry, you came unexpectedly." "Well, it's okay, your cooking is decent, even if it's a bit plain." "That's true, we'll give you that." Surprisingly, my sister-in-law and mother-in-law complimented me. It felt more creepy than pleasant. The house is old but spacious. It's passable. Passable? To me, this house is perfect. Actually, Elle is getting married. My mother-in-law dropped the bombshell out of the blue. Wait, this self-centered sister-in-law? I was momentarily shocked, but her getting married wasn't that surprising. She often bragged about her curvy body and her straightforward approach with men. It seemed to work on naive men or those looking for fun. So, with the guy you had an affair with? I recall the man she once mentioned. It wasn't an affair, we just met in the wrong order. It's true love. But no, not him. The one who approached you recently? I just noticed his intense gaze and approached him first. But no, not him either. Who then? Elle met him at a speed dating event. He's a wealthy man's son, my mother-in-law proudly announced. That's right, I'm having a shotgun wedding with a rich guy. Good for Elle, unlike your brother who married someone like you, she added, not forgetting to throw in a dig at me. And I'm already pregnant. The speed dating event was about 3 months ago. She probably charmed an unsuspecting man. I feel sorry for him and his family. Did you break up with the other guys? Not yet. They all love me so much I can't bear to tell them. It's inevitable. Elle is just so lovable. But what really satisfies Elle is money. I had a hunch, but still, I wonder if the child is really from that wealthy man. We want to use this house for a pre-wedding family introduction. Their ulterior motive became clear. I was so repulsed that I blurted out my response. No way. They glared at me, and I quickly tried to smooth things over to avoid a scene. I didn't mean to cause a scene. I just think the groom's family would prefer to see their future daughter-in-law's actual home. But our place is a bit messy, and it's a small apartment. Then clean it up and stop smoking inside. But won't they find it strange if they're invited to the bride's brother's house? When I voiced my concern, my sister-in-law retorted, you're not getting it. We just say this is Elle's family home. What if they find out the truth? As long as you and your husband keep quiet, it'll be fine. You're getting married. Pretending just for the introduction won't solve anything. Once we're married, he's mine. Plus, I'm pregnant. It's not that simple. You're so sweet to worry. Why not just make this house truly belong to Mom and Dad? Her outrageous suggestion left me speechless. Oh hell, what a great idea. This house is old, but we'll take it. This is my grandma's house. It's not just my decision. Don't you know? Once you're married, everything belongs to the husband's family. I've never heard of such a rule. Well, learn it now. What's yours is ours. So next Sunday, we'll bring the fiancé and his family. Oh, and prepare a lavish and cute meal. Of course, we'll say Elle made it and change the curtains to match Elle's taste. We're counting on you, sister-in-law. They left after imposing their desires and conveniences on me. All that remained was my seething anger and a pile of dirty dishes. I'm sorry, we won't let them use it, my husband said that night, his voice heavy with regret after hearing the latest report. Of course not, but even if we refuse, they'll just barge in. Maybe we should move up our plan. I could tolerate the harassment aimed at me, but I couldn't stand them disrespecting Grandma's house. We'll get back at them for all the bullying, so brace yourself. The next day, I made several phone calls. Despite the sudden change of plans, everyone was accommodating, and I was truly grateful. Once everything was set, I called my mother-in-law. Mother-in-law, I want to ensure Elle's wedding is a success. Can we have a bit more time? We're thinking of remodeling to make it suitable for the couple. Anya, I misunderstood you. You are such a good person, but we have wedding preparations, so hurry up. I understand. We'll be ready in 3 weeks. Why don't you start looking for a wedding venue? You're so thoughtful it's almost scary, but yes, we'll leave the introduction to you and focus on the wedding. Was this our first pleasant conversation? And probably our last. Those two fools wouldn't suspect a thing, and they wouldn't come to the house until the day of the introduction. All right, we're going to be busy from today. With a tight deadline, we worked tirelessly, sacrificing sleep for our future. 3 weeks later, the day designated for the introduction arrived. My husband and I anxiously awaited her call. I could almost see my mother-in-law's furious face as she dialed. At 10 o'clock a.m. My phone rang, displaying her name. I answered the call. Anya, what have you done? Mother-in-law's hysterical voice pierced through the phone. I thought you'd appreciate it. I arranged a perfect vacant land and meal for you and Elle. You, what have you done? Her words were a jumble of insults and confusion. The place she had taken her fiancé's family to, claiming it was her home, was no longer Grandma's house. I had prepared a new home and meal for them, but it seemed they weren't pleased. Her incoherent shouting suggested she expected me to explain the situation to her guests. I'll do just that. I'm sorry if I upset you. Could you put me on speaker so the groom's mother can hear? I spoke in the most submissive tone I could manage. The shouting paused, and a refined woman's voice came on. Are you Aaron's mother? It seems there's been a misunderstanding. Oh, not Aaron. My apologies. So, Aaron finally left his wife for Al? Or is it Ivan? Phil? No. I began listing all the men my sister-in-law had been involved with. Anya, stop it, with a final, piercing scream. Mother-in-law ended the call. They were probably in the midst of a major argument. Ha, that felt good. Anya, my husband, who had listened to the entire conversation, looked at me with a mix of guilt and relief. I'm sorry for making you handle that. I should have dealt with it myself. No, remember I said I wanted to get back at them one last time for Grandma's cherished house? I've explained this before. Grandma wanted me to be happy. I love that house, but you're more important to me than it. My mother, the heir to Grandma's estate, had planned to demolish the house and turn it into vacant land. It was old and not earthquake resistant, and maintaining it was becoming increasingly difficult. Although I had insisted on living there because I loved it, after marrying my husband and dealing with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, my perspective changed. I didn't want them to tarnish the house, but I didn't want to leave my husband either. So, I decided to say goodbye to Grandma's house with fond memories. That's why I asked my husband to find a new job, and we prepared to move back to my hometown. We just expedited our plans. I had Grandma's house demolished and replaced it with a small doghouse in the middle of the vacant land, marked with a tag reading L, styled like a log cabin. It slightly exceeded our budget. I filled the dish with the most expensive dog food from the pet store. Everything was set. Grandma liked you. She wouldn't want us to break up over that house. Anya, I promise I won't waste the chance you've given me, my husband said earnestly. I made this decision because I believed in him. A year and a half have passed since then. After moving to my hometown, my husband, initially taken aback by the rough fishermen in the neighborhood, is now even more beloved by them than I am. The coastal breeze and seafood-rich dishes seem to suit him well. His once pale complexion has transformed, and watching him happily devour grilled salmon for dinner fills me with content. Did you get any emails today? No, nothing recently. They're probably too busy. We haven't been in touch with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law since that incident. My husband's phone remains their only connection to us. We heard about the doghouse fiasco from a neighbor who was close to Grandma. The house my mother-in-law and sister-in-law had shown as Grandma's home was demolished, leaving only the small doghouse. The dog food dish had a hint of luxurious foie gras. The two women were in a frenzy, claiming harassment from the brother's wife. After overhearing a hint about sister-in-law's questionable taste in men, the fiancé's family confronted them. Panicking, they couldn't provide a straightforward explanation. Later, the fiancé's parents hired a detective to investigate sister-in-law's behavior. Of course, the investigation revealed nothing but lies and deception. A DNA test for the unborn child confirmed it wasn't the wealthy man's. As a result, the engagement was promptly called off. The baby's father turned out to be a man sister-in-law had previously pursued. He was clearly infatuated with her, thrilled to have a child together, and they eventually got married. However, his mother, fiercely protective of her son, was outraged that he married an older woman with questionable morals. She demanded they live together, which led to daily clashes between her and my mother-in-law, who had rented an apartment near the newlyweds out of spite. Sister-in-law, who had envisioned a glamorous life with a rich husband, now seemed drained from her mother-in-law's relentless pressure and the challenges of managing household chores and childcare. However, there was a silver lining. Her new husband doted on the baby, so at least that part seemed to be going well. My husband's phone rang. Oh, it's an invitation for drinks from my father-in-law. Your dad really seems to appreciate you. Witty. I enjoy his stories, and my mother-in-law always makes my favorite dishes. It's funny, my own mother never asked about my favorites. This is what family feels like, he murmured. Don't worry, you'll be the kind of parent who knows all their child's favorites. As I said this, I gently rubbed my swelling belly, and he smiled warmly. I feel like we can achieve that in this home. He gazed at the caramel-colored beam on the ceiling, a beautiful relic we saved from Grandma's house when it was demolished. It was my husband who suggested preserving it, even when I was focused on starting fresh. That's one of the reasons I chose a future with him. Let's make this house as wonderful as Grandma's. Yes, absolutely. In the serene coastal town, where the sound of the waves fills the air, stands our small house. This is where we'll build our happiness.